G'day everyone. In this video I'm just going to be talking about some of the uses that you can use a multimeter for and the features that you get with the different multimeters. As I go through the usages, I'll show you the difference between what something like the Dick Smith Q1459 for $20 does in comparison to something that a more expensive BK Precision does, 2709B, which is about $100. This has absolutely nothing to do with high voltage multimeters, and if you're working on high voltage, it's not the video to watch. If you're building guitar amplifiers, I don't build guitar amplifiers, so I can't give you advice on that. This is low voltage, analog, sort of through-hole stuff. That's what most guitar pedal builders use, so that's what I'll be covering. Of course, if you're a hobbyist and you do that sort of thing too, then the information should be useful as well. So firstly, the most obvious thing you'll notice is that the Dick Smith is manual ranging, which means you've got to set the range. If you're checking a 1K resistor, you'd put that on, well, you could either put it on 2000 or 20K to measure a 1K resistor, but you have to make the selection. With the BK Precision, all you do is put it on the ohm setting and it will auto range for you. Or if you want to do the manual ranging, you can just hit that range button up the top and it does it as well. So when measuring resistance, sometimes when you measure with the Dick Smith, you won't get as much detail in the reading as you will with the BK Precision. So if I've got it on 20K and I measure a 1.2K resistor, it comes up with 1.2. But in this particular situation, I can put it on 2000, the 2000 ohm setting, and it comes up with 1198. If I check it with the BK Precision, it'll automatically choose the right range for me, and it comes up with 1195. When we measure something that's a bit more high resistance, like a 4.7 meg resistor, you'll notice that the reading that comes up says 4.62. So you've got 3 digits, 4.62. On the BK Precision, when you measure it, it comes up with one extra digit of detail, which really doesn't make much difference, to be honest. But that is part of having a mid-ranged multimeter. If I can actually get it on the probes properly, so you can see the last one said 1.62, whereas the BK Precision says 4.60 and then a digit after that. So it's got an extra digit of detail for the reading, but that doesn't matter for guitar pedals. Again, that's a convenience sort of thing, I suppose you could say. You don't need that sort of accuracy for guitar pedal components. You don't have to measure, that closely for them. So that it's not an essential. It's not an essential feature to have a high count and a high accuracy, a high resolution on your multimeter. That's not important. If you want to learn more about counts and resolutions, check out EEV blog. Dave Jones goes into detail about what those two things actually are with multimeters. Also with the BK Precision, if I do want to manually range it, as I said before, I'm going to hit the range button and it will, see now it's on, you can see that it's changing the decimal point, 1.2, now that's mega ohms. Obviously 1.2K is not going to show up in mega ohms. This is back to the 1.2K resistor. Then we go back down, still in mega ohms. Now we're on ohms, it says OL, over limit, because 1.2K won't fit on the ohm scale. Hit it again, and then we're back to where we started. So you can manually range it as well. One other common thing that we do with guitar pedals is check LEDs. Pretty much every pedal is going to have at least one LED in it. And you can check to make sure that the LED is working. So you put it on your diode setting. On the Dick Smith, the diode setting is combined with the continuity mode, whereas on the BK Precision they're actually separate. So if if we get our LED and we put the plus on the plus and the minus on the minus with the Dick Smith multimeter, you can see that it will light it up. And with the BK Precision, it will also light it up. It's a bit brighter as well on the BK Precision. The reason why I'm just pointing that out is because I've actually seen a number of the multimeters in the $100 mark actually don't light up a white LED, and I figured that this Dick Smith probably, I'd never actually done it, but I figured that the Dick Smith multimeter wouldn't be able to do it either, but it actually can. It can actually light up a white LED, which I think is one of the hardest LEDs to light up. So, you know, like if it does white LEDs, I think it can pretty much do any LEDs. Actually, maybe blue might be the other one that it would have trouble with. I might just give that a quick go now. No, the Dick Smith does the blue, and the BK Precision does the blue as well. So it can pretty much light up any LED that you want to throw at it. Now, while we're still on the diode tester, you might also want to test a diode if it's working properly or not. And first we do the Dick Smith. If you put the negative on the plus and the plus on the negative, so you reverse bias the diode, it should come up with nothing. That one on the screen shouldn't change. I'm not sure if you can see the screen there, but I'll tell you what it actually comes up with. So put the plus on the minus and the minus on the plus, and it comes up with nothing. It just stays on 1. If we put it the correct way around, so the plus on the plus and the minus on the minus, you'll see that a number actually comes up on the screen which says 725. There's no decimal point or nothing. It just says 725. It doesn't actually mean anything. I've done a few tests between the two, and it's kind of close to what the forward voltage should be, but it's not exactly right, because, for instance, if I test it on the BK Precision, and this is another convenient feature of the BK Precision, is that you can actually test the forward voltage drop. So you can see that it actually comes up with 0.597 volts. So that's the forward voltage drop. This one said 727, I think it was. So it kind of almost gets there, but it's not quite right. So, like if we try another one, this is a DR25, which is a pretty old school diode actually, and we test that. Okay, just put some alligator clips on these multimeters just so it makes it a bit easier. So this DR25, if we test it on the BK Precision, it comes up with 0.17 volt, and then on the cheap Dick Smith, it comes up with 180. See, so it's almost like it's trying to tell us what the forward voltage is, but it's not quite there. It's a little bit out. So I don't know if you could reliably follow what this multimeter actually tells you when you're on the diode setting, but it definitely does check it. It'll tell you if it's working or not. I mean, that's a clear indication that the diode is actually working. So it does check LEDs and diodes. It just won't tell you the forward voltage of diodes. This one won't tell you the forward voltage of LEDs either. It won't do that. It'll only tell you the forward voltage of other diodes like silicon diodes and things like that. So that's for testing LEDs and diodes. Now, one thing that I use quite regularly, because I etch my own PCBs, I need to check the tracks when I've finished etching it and make sure that the tracks don't have any bridges or there's any errors on the PCB. And it can take a while because you've got to go around with both the both your probes, and I've demonstrated this before, but I'll just quickly cover it. You put one probe on one track, and then you go around all the surrounding tracks and make sure there's no connections between them, and you go on the next one and you check that one. And I need a fast continuity tester for that, because if some continuity testers, they take half a second or a second before it will beep, and that would actually drive me crazy, because you've got to, like in that situation, you've got one probe on the track, and you'd have to go bang, beep, bang, beep, bang. It's just like doing a whole board's going to take, or doing multiple boards is going to take extra time, and it would just annoy me. So a fast continuity tester was pretty much high on my personal list of what I want out of a multimeter, and this has got a latched continuity tester, and it's very quick. Firstly, I'll show you the Dick Smith. It has an unlatched continuity tester, which is quick, which I think most unlatched ones are quick. So if we just tap the leads together, you can hear that noise, and it sort of makes a scratchy, you can hear that sort of scratchy beep. That means that it's unlatched. It doesn't have a solid beep. It's kind of, yeah, it's kind of a scratchy sound, but it's quick. So that's the most important thing for me. That it's fast. So you know, if you just tap them together, you can see it's pretty quick. The BK Precision is also quick, but it's latched too. You'll notice that when I touch the two probes together, it's just a solid beep. It's good that it's fast as well, because if I tap them together, you know, I mean, that's pretty quick. There's no delay. The delay would actually drive me crazy. So something to consider when you're buying a multimeter, particularly for, you know, if you're going to etch your own boards. I think mainly that's the main reason for guitar pedals, is if you're going to etch your own boards, it could get a bit annoying having to wait for the multimeter to respond. And you know, I'm pretty sure I just mentioned it before, but in case I missed it, some multimeters around $100 have a latched continuity tester, but it will have a delay of half a second or a second. So yeah, just make sure that if you do go for a sort of mid-range multimeter like this one, that you check the delay of the continuity tester. If that's important to you, it was to me. Each to their own. So apart from that, I mean, that pretty much covers what the Dick Smith can do. You know, I mean, it's got this whole button, which is essentially useless. In fact, I'd be almost tempted to pull that stupid thing off, because sometimes, you know, you're testing a resistor and nothing's come up the screen, and you go, the bloody whole button's on, you got to turn it off. It's actually more of an inconvenience than a convenience, if you ask me. And also, some of the cheap ones can actually have transistor testers on the front, which I've needed a couple of times, you know, maybe twice in the history of making all these guitar pedals. I reckon I've probably used it twice, but I've actually made, you may have seen on some of my other videos, the germanium diode PCB that I made, and it consists of pretty much a battery snap, a switch, some sockets, and a 1 meg resistor. So you can even make your own HFE tester if your cheapy or more expensive multimeter doesn't actually come with that. It's pretty simple to put together. Yeah, so that's it for the Dick Smith multimeter. That's pretty much where where its features kind of end. So what do you get extra with this BK Precision? You've already seen a couple of things that it does that the Dick Smith doesn't do, but there are a few more things that it can do. So I'm going to do a video on how to measure voltages for if you're having problems with your pedal. I'll show you how to do that. That's going to be in a different video. But I just wanted to demonstrate one other pretty cool thing that this multimeter does. This is the small stone that I built, and if you put your negative to negative, obviously, and if I just I'll just find where the LFO is on this thing. Actually, it helps if you put it in voltage first. So if I just find where the LFO is, the LFO is a voltage that varies. It fluctuates up and down, and I'll just find it. So I originally was having a problem with this small stone when I first built it, and I had to post my voltages on the forum to get a bit of assistance, because I was quite stuck with it. And this pedal, as I said before, has got an LFO, which means that some voltages will actually fluctuate quite a bit. So one good feature this multimeter's got is that you can see that the voltage is moving around. If you hit the minimum max button, it'll actually tell you what the max voltage is that it's kind of just tested, and if you hit min, it tells you what the minimum voltage is as well. I believe the flukes actually tell what the average is too. This one won't tell you what the average is though, and then that just goes back to the other settings. So it's a convenient way of getting the minimum and maximum voltage on a particular reading that you're doing, which can be handy if you're having issues with the pedal, or you know, you need to measure an LFO or whatever, it can it'll just automatically tell you what the maximum min is. So that's a pretty good feature. Another handy feature that the BK Precision has that the Dick Smith doesn't is the capacitor meter. It's probably more useful for people that are new to electronics, because sometimes, like for instance, if you order these 47 nanofarad film caps that I've ordered, they have, you won't be able to see it, but they have 473 on the top. On the sticker that came from the supplier, if you're lucky enough to get a sticker that actually has the value on it, it says 0.047 microfarad. So if you're not familiar with how the codes work and also how to convert from nanofarad to micro and back and forward, you may not know what value that capacitor actually is. It's 47 nanofarad, by the way. So you could use the capacitor meter on your multimeter to check what value it is. So it's quite simple to do. You just you have to move the probe from the hertz voltage, ohms to milliamps and capacitance, and then you just connect the leads to each leg. And because this is a non-polarized capacitor, you don't need to worry about the polarity. But if it's an electrolytic, you've got to put plus on plus and minus on minus. And you can see that the value that comes up is kind of somewhere about 47.5 nanofarads. So, which is exactly what we thought it would be. And then just to finish up the video, I'll just talk about some of the actual physical properties of this meter compared to the Dick Smith, which is another. Obviously, you're going to get a better made multimeter with the BK Precision than you will with the Dick Smith meter. It's got this this magnet that you can, if you've got metal shelving in your in a lab or where you build your guitar pedals, you can clip that on, which would be pretty handy. Unfortunately, I don't have that. And you can actually take it off too. It's on a Velcro strap, so if it annoys you, you can get rid of it, which is probably what I'm going to end up doing. It's got a nice stand on it, which holds it upright, which you're probably thinking, wow, who cares about a nice stand? Well, with the Dick Smith, one thing that actually happened quite some time ago, when it wasn't that old, was this little, the little stand snapped off, it broke, and now whenever I'm measuring stuff, I've got to light down. Can't always see the screen, got to hold it in one hand and, you know, measure in the other. Yeah, it's quite annoying. So this one's got a nice solid stand on it, so that's a big plus in my books. And it also has a relatively easy battery compartment to get into. You take those two screws out, and I'll actually just show you this. So you just take those two screws out, and this back bit comes off. And then you've got your battery in the back there. So to get into the back of the Dick Smith multimeter, you've actually got to take off the holster first. The rubber holster comes off first. Then you've got to unscrew these two screws, which I've actually already done. And then you've got to kind of snap open the whole thing like this. And then the battery is actually stored in the back piece of the multimeter. This was part of the reason why the multimeter is kind of acting a bit flaky. The wires to the battery snap actually broke, and I had to resolder some new ones on. I had to take the whole thing apart. When I put it back together again, it's not. It's developed a few issues from that. So yeah, I don't really like how you have to get into the back of the meter to change the battery. I think it's a bit silly. And of course, the probes on the Dick Smith, you know, I mean, they're sharp, but they're just like plastic. They're not sort of rubbery. These feel a lot more solid, and yeah, the BK Precision ones are much nicer. So that's just a quick comparison between the two, and hopefully it'll help you decide which route you want to go down. Whether you want to spend more and get something with the extra features and the build quality and all that of the BK Precision, or whether you want to go for the Dick Smith or something cheaper like the Dick Smith. Other cheap multimeters may not be as good as the Dick Smith. I may have had a pretty good run with it. It's been really good to me, you know, like over the last 10 years or so, and I'm going to hang on to it as a backup meter. So yeah, it's really good for $20. I mean, you know, like it's a pretty good meter. But yeah, hopefully that just helps you decide which meter you want to get, and also might just point out some of the things that you're going to actually be using your meter for with guitar pedals and analog low voltage sort of circuits. You don't need anything that's extravagant like flukes and things like that, because you're not going to be working with high voltage stuff, and you're not going to be working with frequency analyzers and all sorts of business like that. It's really basic sort of measurements that you're doing. So yeah, I mean, something cheap like this would I think would do the job for you. So that's it for this video. Hope you found it useful, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more do-it-yourself stomp box electronics related sort of videos. Thanks for watching.